My wife joined a feminist group and shortly afterwards started calling me abusive and talking about wanting an open relationship. The irony? She was the one who beat our children. When I realized where this was going, I filed for divorce and unintentionally ended up destroying her life. I always found feminists interesting. That is until I met the woman I married. For a while, everything seemed to work well between us. But then she approached a new group. Those women had opinions on everything, and nothing appealed to them. Opening the door to one of them? Offensive. Not opening it? You're insensitive. Walking behind? A pervert? Walk in front? Self-centered. I still hoped that my wife wouldn't be swayed, but that's exactly what happened. What started out as small daily arguments turned into a chasm. I'd come home after 14 hours of work and leave the dishes in the sink, and suddenly I was to blame for every man who escaped justice. When I tried to help our children with their schoolwork, she would pull me aside to say that I was part of the problem, and that my way of explaining things was a classic example of male superiority. The sweet woman I married seemed to have disappeared. In her place was someone cold, always ready to fight. The truth began to sink in at a simple moment. I was playing video games with my son, and I went to play here with him, but he shrank away. At that moment, I felt a deep discomfort in my stomach. I told my wife. Her response? That I had a fragile ego, and that I was projecting this scene just to feel more in control, and of course above her. After that, both my son and I became more withdrawn. He even started wetting the bed. And although my marriage was sinking, what really worried me was the well-being of our children. One day, I came home earlier than usual and saw an unfamiliar car parked in the driveway. It broke me inside, but I didn't go in. I went to a restaurant, took a breather, and came back a few hours later. I bluntly asked her who she had brought to our house while I was working all day. She said they were just friends. Can't I have a life outside this miserable house? She threw in my face. I realized then that she didn't care about our family at all. And to make matters worse, the boys weren't just shy, they were scared. That's when I took a more extreme step. I gave up her privacy. I took her cell phone. Almost everything had been deleted, but what remained was more than enough. An exchange of messages with one of her new friends revealed the plan, to suggest an open relationship and convince me that the idea had come from me. She was already cheating on me, and yet that became the least of my problems. What I really needed to find out was who was affecting my children in this way. I started to think of a plan to get full custody, but since we didn't have a prenuptial agreement, I also needed to ensure that I could continue to be a good father. Though, next morning she brought up the subject as if it were random. I was reading about couples who have open relationships. What do you think? I was already prepared. I had my cell phone recording in my pocket. She spoke calmly, stirring her oatmeal as if it were just another conversation. I didn't shout. I just looked her straight in the eye and asked, in a firm voice, "Who is he?" Her air of superiority vanished instantly. She was speechless. She hesitated. Then she finally admitted she'd had 2 affairs, one with a guy who stayed one night and another who came often while I was away. The most revolting thing? She made the boys sleep on the wooden floor of the living room, while she locked herself in the bedroom with these men. And she made sure she was loud enough for them to hear. These 2 guys, fathers of families, probably thought they had wives at home who were as dedicated as I thought I was. But it wasn't over yet. She told me that she was planning to go out with a work colleague and that it was going to continue, because it was good for her, and I had no right to stop her. The way she said it, not like a confession but like a challenge, showed that it was a choice, not a slip. And as if that wasn't bizarre enough, she even suggested introducing me to a friend who, according to her, thought I was attractive. As if she was offering me a consolation prize. I knew this friend. Rude, loud, always with a closed face. She was the last person I wanted to have any contact with. My head was spinning, but I managed to stay calm and asked to see her cell phone. I knew the unlock pattern of her cell phone. I waited for her to go to the bathroom, went straight to my office and locked the door. While she knocked outside, I ran some data recovery software. What I found was worse than I expected. Explicit messages, meeting arrangements, jokes about me, humiliating comments about our marriage. I also installed a monitoring app. When I'd finished, I returned the phone and asked her to leave. She showed no remorse. On the contrary, she shouted that I was controlling, that I did to her what men have always done to women. She said that I never loved her, that I only wanted to possess her, and that I had every right to do what I was doing, that I needed to accept this as the new reality of our marriage. While she was talking, I started putting her things in a suitcase. I stood in the doorway until she stopped shouting and left. As she started down the stairs, I said, "You're single. Now. Do what you want. I don't control anything anymore. My lawyer will contact you in January." She didn't even have time to reply. I slammed the door and locked it. My hands were shaking. The weight of what had just happened seemed overwhelming. Through the app, I was able to follow her conversation with her friends in a messaging group. They were all applauding her. They said that she was being strong, that she had done what she needed to do, that my request for a divorce was just an empty threat. That, like all men, I would come crawling back when I realized what I had lost. What really freaked me out was reading a message from her suggesting that she could charge me with domestic violence if it would help secure her future. One of her friends bragged about having done it with her ex-husband, telling her step by step how to manipulate the situation to make it seem real, what to say, how to act, even how to inflict minor injuries on herself to use as proof. Right away, I bought security cameras for the house. I needed to record absolutely everything from then on. Shortly afterwards, something unexpected happened. She sent a message to one of her lovers, arranging to meet at a hotel. I had the name of the hotel and the room number. I found his wife's profile online. She was a police officer. I sent her a Facebook message and told her everything, including where he was at the time. She thanked me and ended the conversation bluntly. Hours later, she sent me a video. It was a recording of the scene in the bedroom. The woman came in shouting at her husband, "Again? With our children at home? I told you it was over." In the video, my wife was getting dressed on the bed. When I watched it, my stomach turned. Seeing it with my own eyes hurt more than anything she had ever said. His wife slapped my wife and said that she had helped destroy another family. I sent her a message saying that I had seen everything. I didn't want to see her anywhere near me. I felt my whole body freeze, as if I'd been plunged into ice. That woman in the video was not the person I had married. Not in behavior, not in essence. What happened next was even stranger. She started acting like everything was a competition and she was winning. She sent messages to her friends saying that I was falling apart. I received several calls and messages from her family, but I didn't reply. Every time I told the story, it was like reliving it all over again. And the wound only opened wider. I told my parents everything. My father, after listening, sent her a message. He told her she was no longer welcome at Christmas. Now I'm living with them, in the house where I grew up, surrounded by childhood memories that give me some comfort in the midst of the chaos. My boss realized I wasn't doing well and gave me a leave of absence until mid-January. In the meantime, I continued to monitor the conversations. I saw her despair, her conversations with her friends becoming more and more chaotic. She doesn't seem to realize that she's lost everything, that her marriage is over, and that these friends only serve to push her further down. She sent a flurry of messages. She even showed up at my parents' house saying she wanted to spend Christmas with us. My father threatened to call the police if she didn't leave. Her face turned red with anger, and yet she doesn't seem to understand the gravity of what she's done. I looked up lawyers on the internet between crying fits. At first, I was in shock. I did everything on automatic, just to keep things going. But when I got to my parents' house, the weight of everything fell away. How does someone change so much? Was our whole marriage a sham? Was there anything I could have done differently? I only replied twice to her messages. In the first, I wrote, "It doesn't matter what you say. I don't know who you are. You're not my wife. The woman I married would never destroy my soul with a smile on her face. We're getting divorced, and you no longer have the right to demand anything from me. It's over." The second time, I was direct. As I said, you're not my wife. I don't know you. The woman I married would never put our children to grow up in a broken home. Whoever you are, you're not her. It sounds like you're proud of what you've done. My wife was loving, caring, my best friend. You're something else. A selfish, empty reflection. A version I don't recognize. After that, she stopped texting. Perhaps reality has finally begun to take its toll. The pain is absurd. Sometimes I look at our family photos and run my finger over Kale's face, trying to understand if that person really existed or if she always had this shadow hidden away. I wish none of this had happened. I wish I could go back in time. But I can't do that to myself. I can't live a lie. This has been the worst Christmas Eve of my life. In a fit of weakness, I told our children that Mom didn't want to be a family anymore, that she wanted to be with other men, that we were going to get divorced. They were devastated. Briar cried herself to sleep in my arms, Milo in silence, with that frozen look, not understanding anything. Thank God my parents are here. They've been the support I need to keep me from falling apart. I'm a wreck, trying to put the pieces back together just to give my children some stability. But one thing's for sure, I'm never going back to Kale. Never. The level of disrespect, of coldness, is unforgivable. I wonder if she's always been like this. Does she have a disorder? Has she always been, and I just didn't see it? Or has something happened to change her completely? These questions keep me awake. I lie staring at the ceiling of my childhood bedroom, trying to find meaning where there is none. I'm sorry for this confusing outburst. I just needed to get it out. I just needed someone to understand. A lot has happened since I last wrote. I wish I could say I was strong, but I'd be lying. I was at rock bottom. My father found me lying on the bathroom floor at 3 a.m, on my knees, rocking me from side to side. I was collapsing. I couldn't stop reading Kale's chats with her friends. Until I found a message that broke me for good. She was talking about our marriage and, even worse, our children. She said that everything was a weight, an anchor that prevented her from being the successful woman she wanted to be. That I was an oppressor. That motherhood was a trap set by the patriarchy to keep women in chains. What destroyed me the most was realizing that she didn't give any real examples. No concrete situation where I had done anything against her. They were just empty accusations based on generic speeches, as if she were a political figure, not a woman who shared her life with me. I never stopped her from anything. I paid for everything, always. The minimum wage from her part-time job didn't even cover her own clothes. I supported every dream, every passion she had, even when she gave up in the middle. I was always there. I took her out, showed her affection, looked after our children. How many times did I stay alone with them so she could have some time to herself? If that's oppression, then sign me up. After that, I collapsed from exhaustion. When I woke up, my 3 best friends were in the kitchen with my father, preparing dinner. They've been with me since we were kids. Junior is ex-military. He lost his arm in Afghanistan. We were with him when his wife left him during rehabilitation. He organized a video call with his therapist, who helped me understand what was happening to me emotionally. He said that a part of me had died, the part that was a husband, that believed in that marriage, and that what I'm feeling now is like phantom pain. The marriage is dead, and I'm in mourning. Jack, who is now an executive in a security company, called the top law firm that his company uses. He's covering all my legal costs. He said it's the least he could do for all the times I was beaten up by bullies for him, when we were little. You protected me when I couldn't. Now it's my turn, he said, squeezing my shoulder. Caleb, a teacher with 7 children, yes, 7, is looking after the kids for me. His eldest daughters have been reading stories to Briar and Milo before bed. They're trying to give some sense of normality in the midst of this chaos. Yesterday, I was tested for sexually transmitted diseases. Kale gave me chlamydia. I'll need another test in 6 months to rule out HIV and other infections with a longer incubation period. At that moment, all the self-compassion I had left turned into pure anger. The look of pity on the doctor's face as he handed me the prescription for the antibiotics only made the feeling of violation grow. That's it. I took off my gloves. From here on in, it's war. I'm going to ask for full custody. If I can, I won't give her a penny. My lawyer found the ex-husband of Kale's feminist friend, the one who was always bragging about how she had beaten the system. We talked on WhatsApp. His voice broke as he recounted what it was like to live in a car, without a home, without seeing his children, while his wife enjoyed the house he had paid for. He told the children that he didn't care enough to offer them a home. My lawyer suggested a restraining order because of Kale's comments about men, especially with our son in mind. Growing up with an openly anti-male mother figure can be devastating. We're gathering evidence: parental abandonment, unstable behavior, radical opinions that came out of nowhere but put our children's psychological well-being at risk. Yesterday, we had a Zoom call. Kale hadn't spoken to me or the children since the last time she showed up at my parents' house. She was more dressed up than at any time in recent years. Heavy makeup, an exaggerated neckline, completely out of place for a serious conversation about divorce and child custody. Throughout the call, she tried to provoke me. I did what my lawyer recommended. I stayed calm and told her I was recording the conversation. She started off with an absurd rant about penis types and how excited she was to do more research once the restrictions were lifted. Her eyes wandered away from the camera. She wasn't alone. I just said I wasn't interested in her hobbies. I just wanted to discuss the terms of the divorce and the children's arrangements. She got hostile. She called me pathetic, unattractive. At one point, she pretended to go to the bathroom, but just turned off the microphone and started talking to her friends as if I wasn't there. He insulted me simply because I was a man. Misandric comments, encouraged by the laughter of the others. I didn't react. I just watched. When I realized that this wasn't going to lead anywhere, I closed with a simple, "Okay, so it's a contentious divorce. Oh, and you gave me chlamydia. Unlike you, I haven't had sex with anyone else. I'd better go to the clinic." She grimaced as if she couldn't believe it. She even had the audacity to say that I probably passed it on to her. Ridiculous. I was faithful from start to finish. I sent the recording to my lawyer. His reply was simple: "That's gold." As I'm the holder of her phone bill and family plan, the recordings are legally admissible. She has no idea, but her entire digital footprint will be used in court. Still hurts. But now it's like phantom pain. The part that hurt the most has already been amputated. I'm getting back on my feet. I've abandoned self-pity. I'm fighting. For myself, for my children. They're going to therapy. They'll recover. And Kale will just be a name in a distant memory. 2 weeks later, everyone keeps telling me I'm strong, as if I've overcome something. But rereading these entries, I see that my anger perhaps conveys an image of firmness that isn't real. The truth? I don't feel strong. I wish none of this had happened. I wanted my family intact. I wanted to grow old alongside Kale, to see our children grow up. But that's not going to happen. Nobody won here. I lost. Kale lost. Our children lost. They seem to be congratulating me on losing both my legs, but managing to save a kneecap. I don't sleep properly. When I do, I dream of her and other men laughing at me. I dream of my children crying for her, while I stand there, paralyzed. I wake up sweaty, confused. Sometimes I reach across the bed, looking for her. It takes a few seconds for reality to hit me again. Today, the hospital called. I'm still Kale's emergency contact. She's also still on my health plan. She's had an incident. She lost teeth. She fractured her jaw. She'll need observation. The nurse's clinical description couldn't hide the seriousness. When I arrived with her parents, we learned the truth. Kale's new friends had brutally beaten her. It seems that the screenshots of her friends' chats had reached them. They assumed it was Kale who handed them over. She was beaten and expelled from her own circle. The irony didn't go unnoticed. The same people who had encouraged her to cheat now kicked her like dirt. And the craziest thing? She still doesn't know. That I'm the one who monitors her cell phone. I'm going to keep paying for the plan. Because despite everything, I don't want to see the mother of my children die. This week confirmed what I already knew deep down. Kale is no longer the same person, and perhaps never will be again. His father is now his legal guardian. For the first time in months, I feel that my children are truly safe. I have no words to describe the moment I saw the letter. The way she wrote those lines, disheveled, mixing confessions and delusions, as if she was saying goodbye to the world with shame. not courage. The confession of prostitution, the drugs, the regret, the desire to disappear. And yet the suicide attempt didn't fill me with anger. It filled me with sadness. An ancestral, heavy sadness that settles deep in my chest like fresh cement. I still don't understand how someone I loved for more than a decade could have been lost so quickly. But perhaps the truth is that her fall began long before I realized it. Maybe while I was busy being a father, a husband, a provider, she was already screaming silently for help. And I didn't listen. It haunts me. I feel guilty, even though I know I shouldn't, because I fought. I tried. I was faithful, present, patient. But addiction is a sneaky disease, disguised as empowerment, freedom, new friendships, and empty promises. And by the time I realized it, it was too late. The woman who once dreamed of growing old together with me is now fighting for her life, surrounded by doctors and machines that keep her alive. And, ironically, I'm the one paying for that health plan, the same plan she mocked, the same one that is now keeping her heart beating. I don't visit her. I can't. But I ask for news. I ask her father to let me know if there are any changes. I'm still responsible for her in the system. And as much as I'm trying to move on, the system keeps reminding me that there are ties that the divorce paper won't break. Today, my children smiled in the morning. They ate pancakes, laughed watching cartoons. They played sword with wooden spoons, while I washed the dishes. For a moment, it seemed like a normal morning, just like before, as if the world hadn't turned upside down. I kept that image like gold, like something I need to protect at all costs, because that's my mission now. To protect my people, to protect myself, to build again, not out of heroism, but because there is no other option. What about Kale? I hope she lives, and that she finds something inside her that's still worth saving. But that future no longer depends on me. Kale passed away. He overdosed during the rehabilitation process. No one knows how she got the drugs. One of the doctors suggested that she might have swallowed a hidden bag that burst during detox, releasing a lethal dose in one go. I was holding our children when I got the news. Their little bodies were shaking, consumed by a grief that words cannot console. How do you explain to a child that their mother is never coming back? That the disease has taken her away for good, with no warning, no goodbye? I have no answers, just tears that won't stop falling. I won't be posting again. I won't reply to any more comments. To everyone who reached out in my darkest hour, thank you. The kindness of strangers was often the only thread that kept me going.